Hello and welcome to Sonnia's Spotlight, where I shine a light on people, places, and things you want to know. I'm your host, Sonnia, and today we have Sachi Georgieva, the Colorful Coach. Sachi, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah. So, Sachi, let's start off first by introducing who you are, what you do, and where you're located.
Okay. You introed me very gracefully. So I'm Sachi. I'm the Colorful Coach, and I am a plant-based nutrition and health coach. So basically, I help people adopt a healthy plant-based lifestyle so they can be coming from kind of any walk of life where it could be a new thing to them, or you could be plant-based for a long time and never have looked into the health aspects specifically. So I help people do that, and I'm located in Berkeley, California.
Perfect. All right, here in the Bay Area.
Yep.
So can you tell me how long you've been in your profession?
So the health coaching is pretty new to me. I just became certified as a holistic nutrition consultant last year. But I've been in the health and fitness realm for just about 10 years. So my day job currently, I should say my main job, is as a certified personal trainer. So I work one-on-one with people for their fitness. And for a long time, that did not include nutrition. I was not even particularly into nutrition until I went vegan, and then started going down the rabbit hole of, how much better I felt. And I was trying to figure out why that was and what plants have that would make my health improve so much, because I had already gotten a handle on physical fitness, and I didn't realize how much better you can feel just from changing your diet.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you got into the story of how you got into it. Could you tell us what's the background of the name, the Colorful Coach?
Sure. So that has several meanings. Part of it was just I was trying to figure out what to call myself, because my old Instagram handle was only fitness focused. But because my interests definitely started to broaden when I became vegan, I'm learning more about intersectional veganism and how a lot of the things that I hadn't thought were related to what we eat actually tie into a lot of the bigger issues and problems in our society. So part of the Colorful Coach is that I am a colorful person. I'm a mixed race person, and so I consider myself to be colorful. And part of that is also on your plate. One of the biggest things that I teach, and I repeat over and over again, and I will say it a million times, is to keep it colorful. Add more color to your plate. That's going to be more healthy for you. And then I also think adding more color into your life is something that we can all aspire to do.
Yeah, and I'm happy that you mentioned that intersectional and how everything ties into everything. So right now, what's happening in the world is very uncomfortable for everyone. It is something that has gone on for quite some time, and I have my personal opinions on that as well. Are you comfortable talking to us about your thoughts on that?
Sure. So, at the time that we're filming this, there are different words being thrown around for what to call it. Some people are calling it riots. Some people are calling it rebellions. But after the murder of George Floyd, tensions are very high right now. And I feel like this has been a really long time coming, honestly. I think it's going to be messy, but necessary. And I think one of the biggest things that drew me into veganism and into identifying as vegan was the social justice aspect of veganism, which I realize is not why everyone gets into it. And it's not why I initially was interested in it at all. The animal rights was the first thing, and the environmental aspects of animal agriculture and how harmful that is got me into it. And then you just start to learn about how farm workers are treated and who are the people who have these jobs, and access to food that's an issue in some neighborhoods over others. And it all ties in together. And there are systems in place that I feel like need to be dismantled, and it's going to be a journey. I'm really glad that people are talking about it, but it has been emotional.
Yeah. to say the least. Emotional roller coaster. I'm happy that this revolution is happening. I'm saddened by what happened to George, but I'm happy that this revolution is happening. Like you said, it's a long time coming, and it is necessary for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's bringing up a lot for a lot of people in the vegan community. It's been really interesting sort of to watch it play out, because I don't know that everyone is aware of all of these issues and how they intersect, and I'm really glad to see white vegans talking about single issue vegans and how it's not just one thing, and it's okay to talk about the other things. I don't think it takes away anything to add to the pile of reasons to be vegan, but that is one, and it's one that we can't ignore. Humans are part of the animal kingdom, whether we hold ourselves higher or not. I think we all should get involved, and so we'll see how it plays out. But it's
absolutely. And how long have you been vegan?
It's been just over 3 years, which feels like nothing. So yeah, it's crazy that it's only been 3 years, but 3 years till forever.
Yeah, I feel the same way. My husband and I became vegan August 2017, and the other day I looked at the calendar and I'm going, we're coming up on 3 years, but it seems like
it seems like longer.
Yeah,
it's so funny. So did you and your husband go vegan together as well?
We did.
Yeah, my husband and I did too, which I feel like is huge. I mean, that's part of with the health and nutrition coaching. Like, I think it's so important to have someone you can talk to about these things, or if your mind is changing about things and you have questions, to be able to lean on someone for that. And not everyone has a partner or a close friend or someone that they can talk to. So it's like, if I can be that for anyone during that time, like, I remember the mental shifts that were happening, and it's, they stick, but it's definitely a transition.
Yeah. And what finally made you go 100% vegan?
Oh, that's interesting.
Or was it a gradual thing?
So there's so many like different reasons that you come upon that like push you in that direction. So I definitely when I first stopped eating meat, it was not with the intention of going vegan. I mean, it's like most people, I think, didn't intend to go vegan. It just happens. And it is a choice. So I first stopped eating meat. So my husband never really liked meat, and I cook most of our meals, and it was like an attempt to learn to cook something else that he might enjoy. And then that went so well that after a month of no meat, I just was like, I don't know why I would go back. I just don't know why. I felt so great. Don't know why I would go back to eating meat. And then I think from that point is when my brain was open to taking in some of the things that I just didn't want to look at or think about before. And so then I started learning about animal agriculture and how terrible it is for the environment. And the thing that actually made me go vegan was so random. It was like, at the time, do you remember, like, right after Trump was elected, when like the national parks were being closed and there was a lot of like outrage and from environmentalists and stuff. And for me, that was where I was like, okay, even environmentalists eat meat, and the hypocrisy in that like was too much for me to take. And that's when I was like, at some point, it's like right now, like you need to draw a hard line at some point on where you stand on these issues. And that's when I was like, I'm going to embrace the term vegan, like whatever that means to people. I hope to be part of transforming the term, whatever negative stereotype people have, which will probably always be there. There are so many cool vegans that I've met that care about these issues. I generally think it's a positive, progressive title. But that was the thing that put me over the edge. And then even after being vegan, like it wasn't until later that I really learned about the intersectional aspects. Even though I had seen there were so many vegans of color, I think that was encouraging for me. It's part of the reason I post online, is because you see so many different types of people, and it makes you aware. I definitely thought veganism was like a white person thing before I went vegan. And that's just a myth, like the privilege argument about it it's debatable.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sorry for the long-winded answer, but.
No, I love that because it's a journey. It was a journey. It was you had to go through those things, and the things had to happen for you to realize, right? And to finally go 100% vegan. And that's kind of the same thing for us, where, I mean, we watched Forks Over Knives, and a lot of people did that, watched it, and then turned vegan.
Right.
But I think it's important to talk about, too, the difference between plant-based and veganism, right? So
Totally.
veganism is a way of life, and we stand for the stopping the injustice that's happening with all of the animals and all of the workers that are out there, right? Plant-based is just eating no meat, no dairy.
Right. And that's where it's been, I mean, it's interesting because I'm like, I think prior to calling myself vegan, I'm sort of like, titles are important and also not the only thing. And so I'm like, if you are moving in a plant-based direction, I'm like, no matter what, so happy, whether you intend to go vegan or not.
Right.
And so I feel like I don't want to discourage anyone from the plant-based thing, but there is definitely like a distinction in terms of your ethical stance on all of it when you embrace the title vegan versus plant-based. But I wish more people would just call themselves vegan if they're vegan.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't like the fear around the term.
Yeah. You know, I attended the Vegan Women's Summit,
Mm-hmm.
and they talked about that. They talked about
Really?
how some people are afraid to call themselves vegan because of the stigma, I guess, or because of the myths and beliefs that are out there. But that's why they chose Vegan Women's Summit, right?
Yeah, I
They
like it.
wanted
Yeah.
to put it out
Own
there.
it.
I loved it. And it's something that is ongoing, and I'm glad that it's out there.
Yeah.
Now, let's shift back to your business. There are, talking about myths and that are out there. There are so many different diets that are out there, and I don't know if they're all considered diets, but there's like intermittent fasting, there's keto, there's all kinds of things. What are your thoughts on those?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts on diet culture in general. I'm not a fan of people latching on to like a habit for a little while for the sake of usually weight loss or something aesthetic. So my goal for everyone would be to choose the diet that matches your lifestyle and that is for long-term health. Because I think a lot of times people are adopting diets for short-term goals, and that's why diets fail because the long-term goal is much more important. And so through everything I've learned, even the nutrition program that I did was not plant-based, but it was plant-forward, because obviously all signs in nutrition point to plants being very good for you. And it was a little bit frustrating. I think the reason people should change their eating habits should be for long-term success and health. That's not to discourage anyone who does want to lose weight, but the way that we take in information tends to be, we want something fast, we want something easy, that we're going to knock it out, and then we can go back to living the way we always did. And it's not how it works. So any success with changing your diet has to be long-term. And that's definitely what I promote with my coaching. And it's not, I think it's hard to change your habits, but once you do, it's so easy. And so as long as you get through that hump, you can do it for life, no problem.
Yeah. It's immediate gratification versus a lifestyle change, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But as humans, we always want that instant gratification, and that's why it's so hard, right? It's hard to. I had the previous interview to this was with Giuseppe Nunez, and she was talking about mindset.
Yep.
And it's so hard to change the mindset, of people, of yourself.
The biggest one. I really do think that vegans kind of have a leg up in that, because we've done it. We've already done that work to challenge our beliefs, to go against the norm, to find the truth, and to shift our lifestyles around it. And so I feel like once you've done that once, you can absolutely apply it to other areas of your life. Yeah. But it's still hard. It still takes a bit of work and effort and fortitude.
Oh, yeah. So one of the other things that are out there, speaking of veganism, is because we don't eat meat, everyone says, well, you don't get your B12, right? I personally take a B12 supplement. I just take a spray like every day.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on that? Because there's a lot out.
Yeah, so that one I feel like is such an easy one to answer, but
Okay, good.
the B12 isn't like inherently in animals, it's in the soil. So it comes from bacteria that grows in the soil, and that used to be on a lot of things that we ate, but with just modern day agriculture and the way that we grow food for, large amounts of people, the soil has degraded, the B12 has degraded. So we're not necessarily getting a little bit of dirt and bacteria on our food. Everything is sanitized and sterilized. And so the animals themselves are supplemented with B12. I know not everyone knows that, but there are huge vats of B12 in these factory farms that they're giving to the animals so that when people eat those animals, they get those nutrients. So vegans are just taking the supplements themselves instead of getting it through that third party.
Yeah. I'm happy that you said that, because when I was first starting, with this vegan journey, there were a lot of things that are out there, and you get confused when you're starting out.
Totally.
I happened upon, I think it was probably Plantbased News, where they published something that explained how the B12 is in the soil.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy that you mentioned that, because there are a lot of people out there who are probably starting off or never knew about that. And
I didn't know about it. There's so much, like, even because I'm a trainer and I was like very, very into working out when I first was transitioning to a plant-based diet. And that's, my own stereotype about, am I going to be getting what I need, was something that tripped me up for a while. I mean, that's why I started looking into nutrition, because I wanted to make sure, all my boxes are being checked, all my bases are covered. And then you realize how strong the myths are, because you're like, oh, there's actually a really simple explanation for this. Oh, I actually don't need as much protein as I was consuming. But you never would have known that, because all of our baseline nutrition information is like trickled down from somewhere, or we heard it from somewhere. We don't really like look into it ourselves. But once you do, it's very easy to understand, very easy to adopt. I think it's simpler than people think.
Yeah. And I saw on your website, thecolorfulcoach.com, that you have different packages that are available. Could you tell us about those different packages, what you get?
Yeah. So I'm actually revamping. I mean, I'm kind of glad you brought that up, because I'm sort of switching. I'm going to, maybe by the time that you put this live, I might have them up. But the packages that I have right now are sort of just different time frames. And so I think sometimes things take a little bit more or less time depending on what you're looking for in terms of information and guidance. So my lowest tier one is the simplest one, and the shortest one, about 2 to 3 weeks to sort of get you going, and then in the hopes that you would do it on your own. And then the bigger tier ones are me guiding you a lot more closely for a longer term. People have very different goals, and depending on where you're starting from, you might not need as much overlooking from me or information from me. But what I'm working on developing right now, and I haven't fully put it together yet, but I want programs for where people are in their journey. So like I do specifically want like a new to plant-based program that I'll be offering. So it's either someone who's vegetarian or just started eating plants that is trying to sort of make that jump to veganism and helping them get there. A lot of that is mindset. A lot of that is the things that, we went through in terms of learning more and figuring out like, oh, why wouldn't I eat eggs? I think these are like common questions that people have that you just haven't looked into, and you do need support as you go through. And then I want to also do a program specifically for people who've been eating plants forever, but haven't been doing it for their health, or if a lot of vegans that go through health problems have a little bit of a conflict about that, because we've been told that it's better for us and that we should be feeling a certain way. And not everyone has that health transformation, that I had when my digestion got better, my skin got clearer, like all the things that people talk about. Not everyone has that. And a lot of it has to do with how much processed food you're eating, or your lifestyle in general not being conducive to healthy behaviors and making those shifts towards health. So they're different demographics, but I feel like, everyone in those areas does need specific help that hopefully I can give them tools and help them with.
Absolutely. And I'm happy that those are out there. And it's great that you're revamping it to include those who are just starting out too,
Mm-hmm.
because there are, like my nephew, for example, he does martial arts and
Mm-hmm.
is looking into, he said, I'm trying to eat more plant-based. And so, of course, because he's an athlete, I sent him the link to Game Changers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally.
You know, and so, but it, for us who don't have all the knowledge but are on our vegan journey ourselves, a
Mm-hmm.
package like that where people are starting out or just curious about plant-based eating or vegan
Mm-hmm.
is very beneficial. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that that's out there.
Yeah. And of course, like, with my programs, it is specifically for that one-on-one connection with a person, but like, thankfully there are a ton of resources like that. You can, like, I'm so glad you could just send him Game Changers, and it's like going to debunk a lot of the things that you might assume about what a plant-based diet would do to performance, you know, where it's like, it'll enhance your performance, but you might not have known that if it weren't for that documentary being out, and if it weren't for so many like plant-based athletes, you know, speaking about their experiences. So there are, thankfully now, like a community of people, tons of free resources and information online that you can get and give and share.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of documentaries, I happened upon your short film, Casseroles, A
Oh
Love
my God.
Story,
That's terrifying.
and I watched it. And I liked it. My husband and I watched it. John and I watched
That's so
it.
funny.
We loved it. We're like, oh, look it. This is Sachi. She wrote it. She directed it. Can
It
you
feels
tell
like a different life.
Could you tell us about that? Tell
Yeah,
us about your
sure.
journey through that.
Yeah. So I went to college for screenwriting, and you know, many twists and turns later, I am where I am now. But my first initial goal in life was to be a writer, and I was really into movies and had dreams of writing movies, which maybe, who knows, could still happen one day. But yeah, Casseroles came about because my sister and I wanted to make something together, and I had taken a horror film class in one of the later years, I think my junior year of college. I took a horror film class, and one of the stories that I wrote was very disturbing. And my sister loved that story. Like, she read it and was like, this is so dark, because she loves that kind of thing. We both kind of do. We're twisted. And so we wanted to take that story and adapt it to make a short film out of it. So we just made a modern day version of that story, and that was Casseroles. I can't believe you found that. That is hilarious.
And those who want to check it out, just type
Oh
in
my God.
YouTube Casseroles, A Love
A
Story.
love story. Yeah.
I'll link it down below too. So yeah, I definitely wanted to bring that up because I thought that was really, really interesting. And you just don't, I mean, that just goes to show that you just don't know what people have gone through, what journey they've been on. And I was happy to find that. And
So
all righty. So another thing that I noticed is that you're part of this introvert small business
mhm.
introvert
Yes.
group. Can you
Uh-huh.
tell us about that?
Sure, yeah. So my business coach, Monica Schrock, she's unsocially inclined on Instagram. And that is how I found her through Jasmine from Sweet Simple Vegan, is close friends with her and had posted about her a while ago. And she basically is empowering small introverted business owners to make peace with their personalities, that we're not always the loudest online. We don't show up in the same way as a lot of the stuff we consume. And so a lot of times we hold back on our message because we think it has to be delivered in a certain way. And she has been in copywriting and marketing for, I think, over 10 years. That's her wheelhouse before getting into this. And she is an introvert. And so she has really, really helped this small group of us tap into introversion as a superpower. Because I do think that being introverted, I mean, a lot of vegans are like this. You're more sensitive to people and the world, and you can use that in a way that's really uplifting and empowering. And it doesn't matter if you're the loudest in the room. It doesn't mean you can't speak up about things that are important to you. It doesn't mean you can't sell your services or your products. It's not just about being quiet, because I do think we internalize that our whole lives, that we're quiet or we're shy, or, there's something wrong with that. But I think it's something like 50% of the population is introverted. Like, clearly, it's just another way of moving through the world. And so, yeah, that's been amazing, because she's a vegan, but not, her business isn't vegan. She's saying this for anyone who wants to be part of it. But a lot of the people who joined the program in the beginning happened to be vegan also. And so that was a nice little community to walk into, where it was like, we're all going through this together, kind of figuring out how to put yourself out there and not feel bad about it, basically, not feel weird. And it's been amazing. I love it so much.
And so, as an introverted small business owner, what are some of the challenges that you've faced?
I think the biggest one is perfectionism, like feeling like something needs to be exactly right for you to put it out there. And then the other one is feeling sleazy, like feeling like if I'm asking for a sale, that it's icky. And that has been a big one to work through. I went through that when I first became a trainer, because it's one of those things where it's like, just because you could offer this for free doesn't mean it's not of value and that people shouldn't be paying for it. And I think that's just a long psychological journey that we kind of have to come to and make peace with, because, everyone has to make a living. And if you're trying to make a living off something you love, it can feel awkward to put a monetary value on that and to ask someone. But Monica has really empowered us to, you've put the time in, you've put the education in, you do see it as valuable, and asking for that shouldn't be as hard as it is for a lot of us. I mean, we're still all working through that, but I'm definitely more confident than before in that arena.
Yeah. And so speaking of free versus paid, you have some ebooks that are out there on your link. So you've got one that is a free one and one that is a paid one. So can you tell us about those?
The free guide is the Beginner's Guide to Plant-Based Eating. And that is, it's information that's out there. So for me, I'm just like, oh, everyone needs to know about this. It's just all of the foods out there. There are many that you should consume on a plant-based diet, can and should. And then there's like a sample day of eating in there, and a couple of the common questions that are answered. And that's like a 3-page sort of intro to plant-based eating. And then the other one is Master Your Meal Prep, which, oh man, that one was like, even when I was writing it, I was like, oh yeah, there's actually so much that goes into this that is important. But plant-based or not, I feel like knowing how to prepare your food for a week or a few days ahead is so important. And so I've included a bunch of recipes in that, but also just like tips and tricks, things that, I picked up along the way and people learn as you go, that you can just know. If you know those off the bat, you're going to save yourself so much time. Yeah.
Glad those are out there. So how can people support your journey?
Follow me on Instagram. That's one. I do share what I'm eating quite often, because that was really important to me in the beginning. Just seeing how people were living and what they were eating, what really influenced my life. And if you are interested in one-on-one coaching, if any of that resonated with anyone listening, where you were like, oh, I think I am in that spot where I'm ready to sort of take a jump, reach out to me. I meant to tell you this before we started the interview, but I want to do a giveaway for your followers who are watching this. And so I feel like I want to just ask everyone what their favorite fruit is, because that's a really easy one to hit. But for everyone who answers, I'll enter you in a giveaway for a free 30-minute consultation. And so that's sort of like a little bit of like a diet and lifestyle audit, if there are any things that you're struggling with, or just that you want to check in about, if you're on the right track. At the end of that, you'll basically get like a little feedback and an action plan to take with you going forward. But just wanted to throw that out
Oh,
there.
that's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited about that. That's a great idea. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
I love it. And so, so finally, what message do you want to relay to those who are either struggling with weight loss or just overall wellness guidance?
Ooh, overall wellness guidance. I mean, I really feel like don't neglect your self-care is a really big one. I feel like we're running around all the time taking care of a lot of other things. And it's the, put your oxygen mask on before helping others thing. You can do so much more in the world when you are taking care of yourself. And it's not selfish to look at the aspects of your life that need a little bit more tender care and improve those. And I don't think anyone should feel guilty about that, and a lot of us do. So for overall wellness, I would say just don't be afraid to take care of yourself. Don't be afraid to prioritize your health, because without that, how could you go out into the world and help anyone? For weight loss, it's my general advice on weight loss is like it's a long game, and just depending on where you're starting from and what your goals are. Again, it's sort of somewhat keep health at the forefront of your mind more than aesthetics. And I say that as someone who aesthetics were important to me in the beginning. And health has become much more important along the journey.
Perfect. And so at the end of every interview, I like to ask some of the favorites, and I've been calling it the Fave Five. And so since you mentioned self-care, what is your favorite form of self-care?
So normally exercise is my favorite form of self-care. It's a really, for my mental health, it's been very, very important over the years. But lately, just walking around the neighborhood, I just like nature walks with my dog have been my favorite form of self-care because it's something that I look forward to every day and it makes me present. I'm really, looking at all the flowers and the houses and not letting my brain go to the crazy places that it sometimes does.
Yeah, well, I'll have to say that I've seen them on the stories, and it's very pleasing to see all of the different nature that's out there during your walks.
Yeah.
And so what is your favorite comfort food?
Ooh. Well, the first one that came to mind was mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one to answer. I'll leave it at that.
Leave it at that. Okay.
There's so many.
And then do you have a favorite restaurant?
Do I have a favorite restaurant? The first one that came to my mind was, it's in LA. It's not even here. Sage Organic Bistro.
Oh, okay.
I love that place. Yeah.
Where is that in LA?
They have a couple locations, but the one that I've gone to, I think, is in Culver City.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up. Thank you.
Yeah.
What is your, where is your favorite place to visit?
That's easy. Kauai is my favorite place to visit. We've been going there since I was a baby, and it's sort of like a big family trip. I mean, some years are bigger than others, but my whole dad's side of the family has been going there since I was a kid, and I have a lot of cousins, and we're a big mixed bunch.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite place in the world.
Do you have a favorite quote or saying, or maybe just something that you live by?
Yes. Oh man, I love quotes. But one that I feel like is actually so relevant to the conversation we've had today is that Margaret Mead quote. And I don't want to mess it up. It's, I believe, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has.
Oh gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you opening up about what's happening in the world, and sharing your business and how you can help other vegans, those looking into a plant-based journey, and just everyone in general, right? This is open to everyone, not just vegans, not just plant-based people, just everyone. So I appreciate your time and opening up about everything.
Thank you so much. It definitely felt a little bit vulnerable to talk about this stuff, but I'm glad to do it, and I appreciate you so much asking me to be here and taking the time.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that giveaway. Everyone, stay tuned.
Yes. Tell me your favorite fruit.
Yes.
And then a week later, I feel like I'll announce that.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.